the design of the K-guard gutter system to keep it from separating, and it really handles the rain.
One call's captioning. All right, good evening. We have another tornado warning that has been issued, this time for the southeastern sections of Marshall County. Been monitoring this storm we were telling you about 15 minutes ago. There was some weak rotation with it, and this is the same part of northeast Kansas that we did have earlier a tornado warning this evening around the 5 o'clock hour. But again, this is a new tornado warning, southeastern Marshall County. You can see the polygon here highlighted in white. I'll get the latest information on here. This is going to include Frankfort. This goes until 7 p.m. It's the storm to the south of Frankfort that we're looking at for the possibility of the storm to produce a tornado. Again, I have not seen anything to indicate that we have a tornado currently on the ground, but we are going to have to watch for the possibility that the storm could spin something up. As we look at the area of rotation, it's right there where the greens and reds come together. We'll take a closer inspection here. Again, this is in the southeastern portions of Marshall County. Rotation is going to be on Highway 99, a few miles to the south of Frankfort. So I'll go ahead and put a distance measurement on it here for you. That's going to be to the south of Frankfort by around 5 miles. So we can put the see how things have changed here over the past 1 hour, kind of get an idea of how this storm is moving. Looks like in a northeasterly direction. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and back things out and put a quick storm track on if this were to produce a tornado, because again, I don't think there's anything on the ground right now, but if it's going to produce a tornado, it's going to be there to the south of Frankfort, moving off to the northeast at around 25 to 30 miles per hour. So if this holds together, a time of arrival in Frankfort at around 6:40. So go ahead and play it safe. Take your tornado precautions. Again, as we've been talking about through the evening, it's the type of setup where these thunderstorms, they really don't produce much in the way of hail. They don't produce much in the way of lightning really either. But given the environment that we're looking at, it could spin up a very weak, brief tornado. You know, it could be the type of deal where it touches down maybe for only a few seconds and they're not expected to be all that strong, but they can still cause damage if they do indeed develop. So we do need to keep a close eye on the situation. But again, with that new area of circulation, the National Weather Service has decided to issue a new tornado warning. Again, this is going to be for the southeastern sections of Marshall County. So Frankfort, I would say go ahead and take your tornado precautions. Let's see, Vermilion is right on the edge of this warning polygon. So if you want to play it safe, you can take shelter. We're going to have to see if it's going to make it that far to the east, because again, based on its current track, it might stay to the west of Vermilion, but we'll monitor things carefully. Let me check here from the National Weather Service. Let's see. Storm spotter is looking at the storm here in Marshall County, saying he thought he saw a possible wall cloud. Let's see. The storm is showing better structure. So again, the wall cloud, basically what that means is you have the base of the thunderstorm and then you have a wall cloud, which is a little bit lower than that. And when you look at a wall cloud, that's kind of the feature that you'd be looking for a possible funnel to develop. So based on that report, that's why the Weather Service has gone ahead and issued the tornado warning. And again, based on that signature on radar, that's why they've gone ahead and issued this warning too. Again, the rotation is right along Highway 99, just a few miles to the south of Frankfort. And again, moving to the northeast at around 20 to 30 miles per hour. So Frankfort, Vermilion, go ahead and take your tornado precautions. Again, if you take tornado precautions, the safest place to be is going to be the basement if you have one. If you don't have a basement, you want to get into the center of your home and put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. Again, this is not a guarantee that this storm is going to produce a tornado, but if it does, then you certainly want to be indoors and especially staying away from windows. Again, the type of setup that we're looking at today, it does not favor any sort of significant, very strong tornadoes, but you know, even a weak tornado is still enough to cause damage, kind of like a thunderstorm wind gust. So I'm just checking in here with the National Weather Service and seeing if they have any new information coming in here. As we go back to the radar picture again, it's that storm that we're looking at into the southeastern sections of Marshall County. Tornado warning has been issued until 7 o'clock. We will go ahead and stay with this given that circulation that I'm looking at on the radar picture, and based on that spotter report again into the southeast sections of Marshall County, there's a possibility that something can spin up. That's the strongest thunderstorm. I do want to take a look at some of the additional storms in the northern portion and northeastern southeastern part of Marshall County. And let's see what the wind mode is looking like here on the radar with those thunderstorms around Summerfield, because earlier I was looking at some weak rotation with those. Let's see how that's changed over the past hour. You can see earlier there was a little bit of rotation, and now it's not as pronounced. So Summerfield, you're fine for now. Again, it's the area of circulation a few miles to the south of Frankfort that is moving off to the northeast. So let me go ahead and adjust the view here. Let's see if we have any. Let's take a closer look here at that new sweep of the radar. Again, the rotation on radar is not overly impressive, and we really wouldn't expect that with the type of setup that we're looking at today. You know, you think we don't have any watches in effect. You know, these thunderstorms, in fact, I want to see the lightning here, because it's been somewhat unusual that we've just seen a few scattered showers. There is some lightning with this, so we can see what the radar is showing here over the past 5 minutes, the number of lightning strikes, and that's showing 5 lightning strikes here within the past 5 minutes. So a sign that this storm is a little bit stronger. It certainly looks like it's the strongest of the storms that are out there right now, and you can see that continues to move off in a northeasterly direction. We can see if there's any hail associated with this storm. I don't think we're going to see much, because these storms are, again, were called low-topped thunderstorms. Basically, that means they're not very tall, they're not extending high up into the atmosphere. That's really what you'd need to get large hail, and we're just not seeing that. You can see, if we were going to see hail with these storms, you'd see maybe some shades of blue showing up on this picture, and there's absolutely nothing. So some lightning, heavy rainfall, and maybe a brief spin up of a tornado. If that occurs, again, it's going to be a few miles to the south of Frankfort. Again, this is into the southeastern sections of Marshall County. Again, there's the area of rotation there. So if you are in Frankfort, go ahead and play it safe and head to your storm shelter. If you're in Vermilion, I would go ahead and play it safe too, just in case something were to spin up. Again, these types of even weak tornadoes can still cause damage. I'm going to back things out. If you're just joining our coverage tonight, and this is a new tornado warning for the southeastern sections of Marshall County. I'm going to get an updated time of arrival here, kind of do a little bit larger area as this is moving to the northeast at around 20 to 25 miles per hour. So an updated time in Frankfort here in just the next 4 minutes. So go ahead and head to your safe place right now, just in case. And then Vermilion, if this holds together, it'll be closer to 6:54, so about the next 20 minutes. Again, based on what I'm looking at here on radar, it's not very impressive. So some good news that I think I can offer up. I do not think this storm is producing a tornado at this very moment, but it is something that we'll have to monitor. I'm going to check here on social media, just see if we have any pictures or anything coming in, because the Weather Service was saying that they did have a storm spotter on this storm, and to see if there's been any pictures of a funnel cloud or anything like that. And you know, I'm just not seeing much, so I'll just continue to monitor some of that. This is going to be pretty far north from our Manhattan cam. I'm going to pull that up here and see if I can see anything, if it's worth showing at all. And yeah, we just can't even see anything from that vantage point. It's just dark sky, so I will keep an eye on that. So Weather Service says they're going to continue the tornado warning. They still say radar indicated rotation, so that continues to mean that there is not a confirmed tornado with this storm. They're just basing this warning based on the rotation that we're looking at on radar. One thing, you might have seen the polygon just change there in shape a little bit. Vermilion is no longer included within the tornado warning. So we're going to go ahead and give you the all clear in Vermilion. This storm is going to stay to the west of you. They've adjusted that polygon there, and that makes sense because you look at the storm as it's moving in a northeasterly direction. That's kind of what we were mentioning a few minutes ago. It would have a better chance to stay to the west of Vermilion. So based on that new update, the Weather Service, again, tornado warning no longer includes Vermilion. If you're up near Beatty, you're not in the tornado warning. We'll continue to monitor this storm. And the polygon here is pretty small. That's because, you know, this threat might not last very long. So they're not going to extend this tornado warning very far because it's kind of a short-term, brief threat that this storm could produce a weak tornado. Again, rotation is not very impressive. If there were to be something, I'll take a closer look here. It would be very near or over Frankfurt. Again, not saying that there's a tornado over Frankfurt right now, but if we're going to see that, it would be in that general vicinity right there along Highway 99 nearing Frankfurt. So if you're in Frankfurt, go ahead and stay in your storm shelter. We'll stay with you here as the storm continues to lift to the north past town. But again, it's a tornado warning that does continue here. Other than that, it's mainly rural sections of eastern Marshall County. Kind of to get your bearings about you, there's Marysville. So this is well to the southeast of Marysville in the eastern part of Marshall County. So it's really just Frankfurt. But if you are within some of the rural sections here of Marshall County, go ahead and take your tornado precautions just in case, as this storm continues to lift off to the northeast at around 30 miles per hour. Let me go back and give you an area-wide view. We were talking about this possibility throughout the evening. Maybe we'd have some additional warnings, and that's what we're seeing right now. The big view across all of northeast Kansas, that's really where most of the thunderstorms are, is in eastern Marshall County. We've been looking at storms trying to develop along Highway 75 into parts of Brown and Jackson counties, but those really aren't all that strong. So it's really just here the Marshall County storm that we have to keep an eye on. Topeka is probably not going to see storms through the evening. In fact, I want to look at the satellite picture here and see what it's showing. You can kind of look at the cloud features, and when they start to bubble up, that would be an indication that you could see some thunderstorms. And, you know, that's really it there. I'm not seeing much in the way of development farther to the southeast. So, again, it's going to be this area north of I-70. Let me go ahead and put back here to the regular mode of radar, and it's going to be the area here. I'll draw it on here for you. I think anywhere north of I-70 to the northeast of Manhattan, this general area is where we're going to have to watch for the possibility of a brief spin-up tornado with some of the thunderstorms as they continue through the next few hours. I think this potential will continue through about 9 or 10 o'clock, and then eventually those storms are going to be lifting past the Nebraska border. I'll show you the short-term computer model here. It's doing a pretty good job of showing where the storms are right now. And watch the time here over the next few hours. We have storms around Seneca, Hiawatha, and then 9, 10 o'clock tonight, it lifts into Nebraska, and then we'll be done with any storm threat. And notice the farther south you live, Topeka, Emporia, yeah, we're most likely not going to see any thunderstorms here through the evening. So let's get you back here to Marshall County. We've got some new sweeps of the radar in now, so I want to see what things look like here with this storm. Again, the tornado warning does continue. We can go back here to the wind mode because it's going to show a little bit better idea of what we could potentially be looking at. And there is still some circulation there. Looks like right around or just to the east of Frankfurt, so we can kind of watch that area there. And I want to put it back to the normal mode of radar and see what things look like. So right in there, and there's somewhat of a notch. It's not very well defined, but again, it's going to be right around or just to the east of Frankfurt. It's kind of a messy picture here on radar because, again, it's not a really organized setup for big time severe weather today, so it does make it somewhat difficult to rely on the radar picture. I do want to step back here and check social media once again to see, you know, there's some spotters out there, but any pictures that I'm looking at, you know, I've just not seen any sort of funnels or anything like that. But the most recent report was of a wall cloud, so that's a lowering in the base of this thunderstorm, and sometimes you can get a tornado to develop out of that. But again, you know, this has been going on for about the past 10 minutes with this warning, and I've just not seen any sort of picture of a confirmed tornado with this thunderstorm. So again, we'll go back here to the regular mode of radar. Some heavy rainfall too. In fact, we can take a look at some of the rainfall rates that this thunderstorm is producing here. We'll let that refresh. It should move a little bit, there we go, farther to the east. And we can see some rainfall rates here, about 3 inches per hour. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to get 3 inches of rainfall, but that just gives you an indication of how heavy the rain is falling. In Frankfurt, showing 3 to 4 inches per hour. Now, one thing that I have been noticing is that these thunderstorms are kind of moving more in a northerly direction, and they're moving fairly slowly, so at least some localized street flooding cannot be ruled out as these continue to move off to the northeast, again at around 20 to 30 miles per hour. So that's kind of a secondary concern that we'll have to be on the lookout for. We need to watch, let's see, because you can kind of see kind of a hook feature there south of Frankfurt. So I want to see what the wind mode's indicating here. Yeah, kind of a messy picture there. That's not really any well-defined rotation, but we'll have to watch that. Again, still a little bit of circulation there east of Frankfurt. What we'd be looking for to indicate, that would give us high confidence that there's a tornado. Look at the scale here at the top. When you get into brighter colors, so brighter reds, brighter greens, that indicates stronger winds. Now you look here, the colors are not very bright, so that means the winds with the storm are still somewhat weak. It's not a very strong area of rotation. And again, that's why I keep saying, we probably don't have a tornado, but we need to stay with this because, again, Frankfurt is still fairly close. After that, it'll probably get into more rural sections of Marshall County. Again, that will probably stay west of Vermilion, but, once you get north of there, it's going to be fairly rural areas, and we just still can't rule out that possibility of something spinning up. But again, over the past 10 minutes, I have not seen any confirmed report. So I'm going to let this get a little bit past Frankfurt and see what the new scans of radar indicate, and then we'll see where we want to go with our coverage here. But we do have some additional thunderstorms to the south of Summerfield. I just want to keep an eye on these because, it's in an environment where you might get a brief spin up. So let's just continue to monitor this additional activity. Again, rotation somewhat weak. There might be some, but that's crossing the state line out into Nebraska now. And then we're looking at some additional thunderstorms here, eastern Nemaha, far western Brown County. These do not look nearly as organized, and it looks like they have been struggling to develop. Let's see what this looks like over the past 1 hour on the radar picture. We kind of had 3 different cells, and now it's kind of just this one to the southeast of Sabetha. We'll see if that can strengthen. So if you are in Brown and Nemaha counties, you want to pay attention to the weather situation here through the evening, because gradually the storm threat's going to lift a little bit farther to the northeast. And as that happens, we could potentially see another possibility for some brief spin-ups in, a little bit farther east of what we're looking at right now. All right, let's go back here. Looks like we've got another sweep in. I want to see what things look like. Again, we still got to watch that area south of Frankfurt. Let's see if the wind mode gives us any better clarity on that. Again, it's somewhat messy. There's a little bit of rotation there east of Frankfurt. I want to see how that matches up. That might be something there, but we need to see if it matches up on the regular mode, kind of where it's raining. And, that's kind of in an area where there's not a lot of rain, so that might be kind of a false signature there. But again, anywhere I'd say along and east of Highway 99 in Marshall County, we'll have to watch these thunderstorms as they continue to move to the north. Tornado warning does continue until 7 p.m. Now let me check back here on social media, and again, there is not any reports of any tornadoes with these storms confirmed on the ground. And that's the type of deal, not all tornado warnings are created equal. Sometimes you'll have tornado warnings where you definitely have a tornado on the ground, and sometimes you'll have this type of setup where there's just radar indicated rotation. But the National Weather Service has gone ahead now and issued a new tornado warning. So let me clear that off. This is a new tornado warning being issued. This is going to be for the eastern sections now of Marshall County, northwest Nemaha County. I'll highlight that polygon on here for you. And this warning is going to include places like Axtell. That goes until 7:30. So again, the National Weather Service has gone ahead and issued this new tornado warning as that storm continues to lift off to the northeast. So let's see what this polygon is like and see who's included. So Axtell, Baileyville, you're in this tornado warning. So you want to go ahead and think about heading to your storm shelters. It's for this storm that we've been already tracking around Frankfurt. Based on its current movement, that's probably going to stay to the south of Summerfield. So tell you what, here, let's get an updated track now. I want to go back to the wind mode to get a little more accurate track on exactly where this might be. So that's going to move to the northeast at around 25 to 30 miles per hour. They're saying northeast at 30, so I'll go ahead and do that here. So let's take it from kind of where we're looking at now, northeast at around 30. This will be over the next 30 minutes, a track on it. So Vermilion at 651, potential for that to head toward you. Again, I'm not saying that there's going to be a tornado in Vermilion at 651, but if we were going to see something, that's when the window of time period would be looking out for. Farther to the northeast, Axtell, an arrival time in about 20 minutes. at 7:06, and then Baileyville at 7:09. Again, that's if this holds together. But again, this new tornado warning has been issued, and it does go until 7:30. So again, go ahead and take your tornado precautions. The safest place to be is going to be a basement. If you don't have a basement available to you, want to take shelter in an interior room. So the center of your home, put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. Again, we have not had any reports of confirmed tornadoes on the ground, but based on the signatures that we're looking at on radar, that is at least a possibility. And this is kind of something that we had happen a little bit earlier today. Right at the top of the 5 o'clock hour, there were some storm spotters reporting a brief funnel cloud, and it eventually did touch down for only a few seconds. And this is going to be what's going to keep happening here as these storms continue to lift off to the northeast. We're going to see storms that may produce a brief circulation, might touch down with a brief tornado, but then after that, they go back up into the storm. So we'll just continue to keep an eye on things. But again, we do have to continue with coverage here as the Weather Service has gone ahead and issued a new tornado warning. If you're in Seneca, you might, if you have a weather radio or something like that going off, this tornado warning does not include you. This includes places like Baileyville, Axtell, the northwestern parts of Nemaha County. But you can see the polygon here. Again, whenever you're within that polygon, you're in the danger zone. And what we're looking at, I'll highlight it here, that's the new tornado warning, goes till 7:30. You can see it is to the northwest of Seneca, but if you are in Baileyville, Axtell, go ahead and take your tornado precautions. Again, it's this storm that we're looking at right around Frankfort in between Vermilion that's continuing to lift to the northeast and is giving at least some concern that there might be a brief spin up. Again, I'm not seeing anything that's terribly impressive here on the radar picture. Let's just kind of take a closer look in here. Again, it's just right here, kind of along this leading edge of the line. What it kind of looks like is maybe some very weak outflow winds. These might be winds that are only going 20 or 30 miles per hour. But anywhere along kind of this leading edge of the line is where we could see something spin up. And that's why the Weather Service has gone ahead and extended that tornado warning a little bit farther to the northeast. So if you're in Frankfort, go ahead and stay in your storm shelter for right now. I think we'll be able to give you the all clear here in the next few minutes. But kind of where we see that kind of notch feature that you're looking at there, that's where we'd maybe see a brief tornado. That's moving off to the northeast. So Vermilion still looks like it'll probably stay to your west. We'll see if these storms can wobble, a little bit. But as of right now, we can just look at this over the past, 1 hour on its motion, and it's moving more off in a northeasterly direction. So we think Vermilion, this threat is probably going to stay to the west of you. Farther northeast, again, Axtell, you're included within this new tornado warning. You've still got a little bit of time, probably about 15 minutes before the storm will get closer to you. But we can take a look here. Baileyville's included, Axtell's included. Let's see if we have any other areas of population, and that looks like to be about it. But if you're in the rural sections of northwest Nemaha, eastern Marshall County, you want to watch this storm carefully as it moves off in its northeasterly direction. Again, not looking at much in the way of hail with these thunderstorms. Again, they're fairly weak, but there's already enough spin in the atmosphere. Let me kind of show you if you missed our newscast earlier, we were talking about how there's an area of low pressure in north central Kansas. And we look at this is the clouds. This is the infrared satellite picture. So those colors indicate some of the cooler clouds. And you can see here very easily a swirling motion in the clouds. So that's a center of low pressure right over Belleville, around Marysville. And notice, just because we have already so much spinning motion in the atmosphere, once you get these isolated storms, that's what they look like on the cloud picture there. Once you get those isolated storms develop in an environment that already has so much spin associated with it, you can sometimes get some brief, very weak tornadoes. Again, it's not a typical Kansas May tornado setup today, but based on the history that some of these storms have, it is certainly a possibility that some of these storms could produce a brief tornado. See another tornado warning there in Nebraska. So let's go back here into eastern Marshall County. Again, if you're just tuning into our coverage, maybe you're getting the alert in Axtell and Baileyville. We have a new tornado warning warning that has been issued for your area till 7:30. We've been watching this storm east of Frankfurt to the west of Vermilion, kind of in between towns, moving in a northeasterly direction. We do not have a confirmation of a tornado, but there is, some rotation on radar. I want to actually go back here to the wind mode real quick, and then we'll get an updated storm track on it. If you're just joining us, we'll give you an updated time of arrival. So that's moving to the northeast at around 30 miles per hour. As we get our updated track on that, as it begins to move into the northwest part of Nemaha County, that's going to put it closer to Baileyville by around 7:09. Axtell, that'll be heading your way at around that time too. So again, that's the next area that we'll have to watch for the possibility for this thunderstorm to maybe briefly produce a tornado. But again, we have not seen any confirmation of that. I am looking here from the National Weather Service to see if they have any new reports. Looking here on Twitter. And let me go check here on our Facebook page. If sometimes we get some pictures on our Facebook page, and I'll see if we have any of that coming in. I think Melissa's pulling up some pictures from our website too, so we'll go to her here in a second. But again, I'm not seeing anything here on my vantage point. So we'll continue to monitor this as it continues to move to the northeast. Again, tornado warning. This eastern one continues until, okay, here's a new report. 6:49, spotter reported a brief funnel cloud with the storm near Vermilion in southeast Marshall County. So I think that's why the Weather Service went ahead and issued this new tornado warning, because there was at least a brief funnel cloud. About 20 minutes ago, we had that report of a wall cloud, which is a lower ring of the thunderstorm. And when that happens, that would be the future that you'd be looking for, the possibility of a funnel cloud to develop out of. But again, based on that new report, again, that was at 6:49. Again, this is in the southeast part of Marshall County is where that storm spotter reported a brief tornado, or excuse me, a brief funnel cloud, not a tornado. The funnel cloud, once it hits the ground, that's when it would be a tornado, but they said it did not reach the ground. So again, the area of circulation does not look very well defined, but if we're going to see something, it's probably going to be just to the west of Vermilion, continuing to move to the northeast. So Axtell, Baileyville, we'll continue to monitor this storm carefully as it moves off in a northeasterly direction at around 30 miles per hour. We can look at the lightning indicators here on this thunderstorm and see what that's showing. And we've had a couple lightning strikes there to the northeast of Frankfurt, 2 strikes here within the past 5 minutes. So not a lot of lightning. Typically you think thunderstorms with tornadoes producing a bunch of lightning. This is a somewhat unique setup today where these thunderstorms are not growing very tall. But again, as I was mentioning, there's already enough spin in the atmosphere that you could maybe get a brief circulation to develop. So Melissa, just let me know when you're ready now.
Sure, if you'd like.
Yeah, so Melissa got a picture here. Let's send it over to her.
Just a couple of the photos that have been sent into the weather page on WIBW.com. This is, Braden sent this in 4 miles south of Axtell. So this is the big cloud that they are seeing in that area right now. And as Peyton has been watching the warning move through, this is in the Axtell area, what they are seeing on the horizon. And from the earlier storm, this is just a very nice picture from Gerald in Bremen, Kansas. That is the rainbow after that first round went through. And of course, their cemetery, they're looking very nice for Memorial Day. So that's the beautiful side after things passed through earlier this evening. This here is the cloud that they are seeing, that Braden is seeing south of Axtell. But would you consider that a wall cloud, Peyton? Kind of the type of threatening situation that could develop out of that?
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're talking about. You can see, it's a little bit lower on the cloud base there, and that's kind of the feature you would be looking for. Yeah, there on the left part of your screen. So notice how it's a little bit lower compared to the right. So that's kind of the feature that we'd be looking for, and that's where you get the funnel cloud to develop out of, and that's pretty far away, so you wouldn't be able to see that. But that's where we did have that report from a storm spotter at 6:49 reporting a brief funnel with that storm.
So if you have photos of what you are seeing in that area, I've been in contact as well with the Nemaha County Emergency Management as the storm has been moving toward that area. So we'll keep in contact with the emergency folks tonight. Again, as Peyton has been telling you, the tornado safety tips, if you're in the path of the storm, in the path of the warnings, be sure you go to your basement or an interior room on the lowest level of your home, something like a closet, something that doesn't have windows. Avoid the windows. If you are able to, maybe for extra protection, cover yourself with something sturdy. Maybe you have a pillow, blanket, just anything that's going to give yourself extra protection, because we have learned throughout severe storms, when a tornado comes through, a lot of the injuries are actually coming from flying debris, because those winds are just swirling things around and you don't know what might be coming your way. Do not stay in a mobile home. If you are in a mobile home, if you find yourself outside, kind of have that storm plan in mind. Know of a safe place that you might be able to go. And if you're in the path of the storm tonight, make sure you're staying in touch as well. Have a weather radio handy, or our WIBW weather app, something that's going to keep you informed so you know what may or may not be heading your way. And again, Nemaha and Marshall counties, now this is 4 miles south of Axtell, what was seen a few minutes ago. We're going to be keeping an eye on those situations as the night goes on. Peyton.
All right, thanks for that, Melissa. We'll get you back over here to the radar picture. I've just been checking in with the Weather Service to see if they have anything new, and they don't in terms of tornadoes. So again, most likely we do not have a tornado on the ground at this very moment, but we still need to monitor this, because at any time it could possibly spin something up, and we'll continue to monitor for those pictures on social media. Again, the picture here on the radar is not very impressive. There may be some weak circulation, but if this trend continues, well, this southern warning is going to drop off. We'll have to see if they'll continue this tornado warning here for Marshall into Nemaha County. This southernmost warning here, it's 2 different polygons. This one goes until 7 p.m. and then a northern tornado warning that goes till 7:30. That was the new one that they issued based on that report of a funnel cloud at 6:49. So that's coming up on 10 minutes ago. And since then, I have not seen any new reports coming in. But again, they're to the west of Baileyville. Let me look here, maybe a couple areas of circulation. Let me go back here to the regular mode of radar, see what things look like. Again, if there's a circulation there west of Baileyville, it's going to be rain wrapped, and then maybe something to the west of Vermilion. But, you know, just based on what I'm looking at here, it does not look very impressive. But we'll go ahead and get an updated track on it as it is continuing to move off to the northeast at around 30 miles per hour. We'll go ahead and take it from where, if we're going to see some circulation, maybe a tornado, and take our track from there. So northeast at 30, we'll put it into Vermilion right about now. Again, stay in your storm shelter. If you're in Frankfort, the threat is now moving to the east of you. It's now getting ready to head toward the northwestern part of Nemaha County. Axtell at 7:08, so in about 10 minutes. And then if this holds together, that'll be Baileyville by around 7:14. Now, even if we don't see a weak tornado develop out of the storm, we're still going to be looking at some heavy rainfall and some occasional lightning. We can go back here to the regular mode of the radar picture. This shows us how hard it's raining in the storm. And when you're looking at those shades of red, that's a little bit heavier rainfall. So that's moving to the northeast. So at the very least, expect some heavy rain, some occasional lightning. We can look at what the radar is estimating in terms of rainfall rates. So how hard it's raining per hour, that should update there. There we go. So the radar is estimating, you know, maybe 3 to 4 inches of rain per hour. Now that doesn't mean you're going to get that much rain, because of course these storms are moving, but because they're kind of moving in one after another, that at least means that there could be some localized flooding in some of these areas as that storm lifts off in a northeasterly direction. Let's go back here to the area-wide view as we're approaching the top of the 7 o'clock hour. Again, those are the strongest storms we have in northeast Kansas. Again, that southernmost tornado warning just expired at 7 o'clock, but this easternmost tornado warning does continue until 7:30. And then it looks like we do have another storm. Let me go show you here Supercast real quick and see how things are going to evolve through the rest of the night. You know, we've got those storms north of I-70. It looks like it's now going to be kind of confined to the Highway 36 corridor. So Seneca and Hiawatha, keep an eye on the storms. Again, Topeka's not going to see anything tonight. No threat of severe weather. Emporia is going to be dry. Manhattan, most of the storms have developed north of you, and that's probably how it's going to stay. Yeah, storms probably going to stay to the north of Manhattan. So it's really just in the short term, the next 1 or 2 hours, this area here, right along Highway 36. We've got the strongest storm, eastern Marshall, moving into the northwest part of Nemaha County, and then another storm trying to develop there western Brown, eastern Nemaha County, that does not look very strong either right now. So certainly it's this storm, and we can kind of look at the lightning indicators on radar to show you how strong these storms are. And no lightning with that eastern storm. We do have some occasional lightning strikes here to the east of Marysville with that storm, and so that's an indication that that one is a little bit stronger. Let's go back here. Let me step off here and just double check on Twitter again, because there have been some spotters out to see if we have any sort of new pictures or any sort of indications that things have changed. Yeah, not seeing anything there. So again, we know this is type of deal, we have to stay on. We've got the tornado warnings. We'll try to get you back to programming here in a little bit. But for right now, this is not weakened enough. And there's still, if this were maybe in a more rural area, but because we've got Axtell and Baileyville here in the path, we do want to keep you updated here. Tornado warning does continue until 7:30. Weather Service still says it's just radar indicated rotation. So what that means is we do not have a tornado occurring right now with this thunderstorm, but again, very weak areas of circulation somewhere along the leading edge of this thunderstorm line. Looks like the most pronounced, again, when I say that, it's kind of relatively speaking, it's not very strong, but a few miles there to the north of Vermilion. Let me go back here to the regular mode of radar. And yeah, that might be a little bit of a circulation. It's really not a classic setup. We'd kind of be looking for an inflow notch or something like that, kind of a typical setup here. It's not very typical, so that's why, kind of our intuition on what we think should be happening is maybe not working out so well today. But an area of circulation, and that's why we can use the wind mode here of radar to kind of help pick things out when things might be obscured by rain or something like that, which is kind of what we're looking at here. So an area of circulation to the north of Vermilion by about 3 miles. Just checking there at the Weather Service, nothing new. Area of circulation there 3 miles north of Vermilion. Frankfort, we can give you the all clear now. The threat's to your northeast, so if you were in your shelter, you can come out now. Vermilion, you're also fine because the circulation center's to your north and it's moving away from you. So Vermilion, you're fine. If you are in Baileyville, though, also Axtell, go ahead and stay in your storm shelter. There's Axtell there populating on the map. Want to try and keep that on there as that continues to head into far eastern Marshall County. I'm going to go ahead and put a track on this northeast, again, still at around 25 or 30 miles per hour. So it looks like Axtell 7:09 arrival, maybe if there's going to be something, and then Baileyville at around 7:13. Again, you know, most likely with these thunderstorms, you're going to get some heavy rain and lightning. There's really not any indications here. I can look here at the regular mode of the wind, and this would maybe show us if we'd be looking at some straight line winds or something like that, and we're probably not even seeing that. So it's really just going to be some heavy rain, lightning, maybe something that spins up, but based on what we're looking at here over the past 30 minutes or so, there just has not been any confirmed tornado. The latest report that we had, again, was at 6:49 of that report of a funnel cloud, but you know, that's coming up on 15-minute-old report. So we'll just continue to see. Check in here, you know, we did have some storm spotters out from this storm, not showing anything. Let me check some of our tower cams here, and you really can't see much from these thunderstorms. You know, we've got our Manhattan cam there, but that's looking off pretty far to the north to be able to see anything from that vantage point. So we really are just relying here on the radar picture to see if we'd potentially be looking at any sort of something to spin up. But again, some very weak areas of circulation there north of Vermilion to the southwest of Baileyville, and that's moving off to the northeast. So go ahead and stay in your storm shelters. We'll go back here to the regular mode of radar. I'll show you kind of where the heaviest of the rain is. And I kind of showed you that circulation there. It's north of Vermilion, right about here. That means if there were going to be something to spin up, notice it's right in those shades of darker red. That means it would be obscured by rain. So if you're in Axtell and Baileyville, don't go out and try and see this for yourself, because you're just probably not going to be able to see that if something were to happen here, because you'd just be getting in on the rain. You wouldn't even be able to see it. But again, you can see getting pretty close to Axtell and Baileyville. Let me go ahead and put back on the wind mode here, and we'll kind of get a distance measurement on this area of circulation from Baileyville. It's to the southwest by about 5 or 6 miles, and then due south of Axtell. You know, we're kind of looking at that circulation is about 6 miles. But again, even that is just not a very impressive signature on radar in terms of rotation. But kind of anywhere here along this leading edge of the line, we could maybe see something spin up. But if these trends continues, this warning could very easily be canceled early because, you know, we've been going on 20 minutes with nothing new. So we'll continue to monitor that as it lifts off to the northeast. Melissa's ready here in a bit. We can go back. We've got some additional storm pictures coming in. We'll continue to monitor social media too for that. But for an update, let's go back over to Melissa.
You've had a couple more pictures coming into our WIBW.com weather page. This is what folks are seeing around the area as those storms are moving in or off from the distance. Madeline is actually in Paxico, and this is looking toward the north of where she is, toward Frankfort. So there's that big cloud in the sky off in the distance in the Frankfort area as the storm and the warning was centered around there. This is 6 miles south of Centralia, looking to the west. So again, you can see, as Peyton had mentioned earlier with the photo that we saw, those clouds very low on the horizon, very low to the ground as we take a look at where these warnings are. This is from Tuttle Creek Dam. Right now, the Manhattan area, nothing in Riley County, correct, Peyton? So this is just regular clouds. You're okay there in the Tuttle Creek Dam area. And then earlier, we also had that photo come in from the Axtell north. This is a new one. This is northeast of Vermilion from Bailey. This is another area that has been in the path of the warning. It just moved through there. So you can see again, as Peyton had mentioned earlier, with these clouds low to the horizon. And Peyton, you'd also said when they're kind of at that tipped angle like that, you're kind of looking at that as an area of concern from what you see on the radar. Yeah,
any sort of lowering with the storms is where we'd potentially be looking for a possibility of a funnel cloud or something like that to come out of the storms. Again, that looks fairly far away, but you can kind of see on the left part of your screen where you get some of those lower clouds. That's where you'd maybe be looking for something. But again, nothing that has been fairly impressive. Again, this is definitely not the type of setup today where we'd be looking at, you know, classic tornadoes that last very long or are very strong, but you know, something that we can't continue to rule out of a very weak tornado as these storms continue.
And this is something we should point out. Professionals do have their eyes on the storms out there. This is that wall cloud south of Axtell that we showed you earlier with the lowering on the one side of the screen. I checked in with Nemaha County Emergency Management. They were coming up to the Baileyville area to really keep an eye on what was coming into their part of the warning area in Nemaha County. They had not seen anything just yet that had been on the ground, so they are out keeping an eye on things and will keep us informed as well. So again, this is that cloud that Braden had captured south of Axtell. We go back up to northeast of Vermilion. These are all these areas in Marshall moving into Nemaha County as the storm has continued to move, and then coming back up here again, Centralia looking to the west. That right there is the low portion of the cloud on the horizon, and then here looking toward Frankfort. Now this is from Paxico up to Frankfort, way off in the distance where you can see the cloud. Again, as you're in the path of these storms, we're starting into spring storm season, and we haven't had a lot of warnings to deal with, so we always have to remind ourselves of those severe weather safety tips. If you're in the path of the storm, if you're in the warning area at all, or if it's even starting to move your direction, keep in mind that you need to know that you can go to the basement or an interior room on the lowest level of your home. Something like a closet would be a good idea to think about. Avoid rooms with any windows, because if those winds from the tornado start coming your way and they blow that glass, you don't want to be in the path of anything that could be coming through a window or hurting you. If you're able to, cover yourself with something that is sturdy to provide a little bit of extra protection. Do not stay in a mobile home. And this is something to think about even if you're not in a warning area tonight, and if you are in a mobile home, think about where you would go when a storm perhaps could be coming to your area, and have that severe weather plan in place. As always, stay advised with a weather radio. A weather radio with good working batteries. If you're not in the storm warning right now, we are just starting spring severe storm season. Check those batteries now, because if the power goes out, you want something so that you know if the storm is coming your way. So your weather radio is great. Your mobile app, charge up those cell phones so that you can access some source of information as the warnings and watches go on, because you don't want to be caught unaware. The best weapon is early preparation here. So as we go through some of the photos that we've received, again, this is looking toward the Frankfort area, and then as folks who are a little bit more closer to the storm. This is south of Centralia looking toward the west, where you see the cloud lowering there on the horizon. The Tuttle Creek Dam, again, Riley County, you're okay, but you can see those clouds way in the distance as you start looking toward the areas where these warnings are in effect. Northeast of Vermilion, you see those clouds firing up on the horizon. And then again, this is that wall cloud south of Axtell with the lowering on the one side as we keep an eye toward the warning this evening. Peyton, what does the radar show?
Yeah, I'll show you the radar picture here in just a second. I want to show you this picture sent into our WIBW weather Facebook page. This is from Brenda. She is looking at that storm. She's south of Vermilion, and this is what it looks like. So nothing that really stands out to me here on this picture that, we have any sort of funnel cloud or tornado or anything like that. But, this just gives us confirmation that we do have some eyeballs, if you will, on this thunderstorm as it continues, and we'll continue to monitor those things carefully. Let's go back here to the radar picture because this tornado warning does continue. I was checking in with the Weather Service. They are going to continue this tornado warning until 7:30, at least for the time being. It might not last all the way to 7:30, but they're continuing to say they do not have enough confidence yet to let this go because there is a little bit of rotation a little bit higher up in this thunderstorm. So it's at least possible that this could spin up again. The area of rotation that sticks out to me on the radar is going to be to the southwest of Baileyville, right there on the Marshall and Nemaha County line. This is going to be a distance measurement on it here. Going to be to the southwest of Baileyville by about 2 or 3 miles. And then from Axtell, it's going to be about 3 or 4 miles to the south. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get an updated track on this as it's continuing to move off to the northeast at around 30 miles per hour. Let me go ahead and do a cone track actually on that now that it's a little bit more well defined. So there from to the southwest of Baileyville, northeast at around 25 or 30 miles per hour. Based on that cone track, it might end up staying in rural sections, the actual circulation. But just in case, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit bigger span on that track here, just to kind of get some of our areas of population here to show up. And that's northeast at around 25 to 30. So Baileyville by around 7:17. Axtell, you're kind of on the western edge of where we'd be concerned about this, but go ahead and stay in your storm shelter just in case. Let me get you back here and we'll take a look at how things have evolved. This is going to be the past 1 hour of radar data in motion, and that is the area of circulation that is sticking out now to the southwest of Baileyville. So if you are if you're in Axtell, Baileyville, stay in your storm shelters right now, and then this is going to eventually be tracking up into the northwest corner of Nemaha County, and then far eastern Marshall County, but it's really the northwest corner of Nemaha County that's going to probably be the area that we'll have to watch here as this evolves into the next about 15 minutes or so. So again, this is the tornado warning that does continue. It goes until 7:30 tonight. The area highlighted here, that's the newest tornado warning that we do have. Again, earlier this was affecting southeastern sections of Marshall County, but now it's moving right along the county line. Again, there is still some circulation there, but it does not appear to me to be something that is very strong at this point. We've still got daylight here, so if there is going to be anything produced out of this storm, we'll see if we have anything from storm spotters, but it's probably going to be pretty difficult just given this somewhat unusual setup today that these storms are not overly strong, and that area of circulation, I highlighted it there a little bit ago to the southwest of Baileyville. If something is going to develop out of the storm, it is definitely going to be just completely obscured by rain. So that's another thing we have to keep in mind, from our pictures and reports. We might not even be able to see it. So that's maybe also why there's no reports of an actual confirmed tornado on the ground. So again, if you're in Axtell, Baileyville, play it safe here. We're still looking at the area of circulation. Looks like it's right along Highway 36 now. And within the next few minutes, that's going to track north of the highway and begin to move into the far northwestern portions of Nemaha County. Let me go back here. I do want to keep an eye on some of the additional thunderstorms that we've been looking at. Let's see, they're going to continue this tornado warning. They still do not have a confirmed tornado with this. Here's the report that we did have earlier, but this is going to be somewhat of an old report now. That little icon that you see there to the south of Vermilion, that was the earlier report that we did have at 6:49, so it's 7:15 now. That was 25 minutes ago. But the chaser was 7 miles south of Vermilion, and they did see a funnel cloud. So that's why the Weather Service did go ahead and issue this tornado warning initially, was for that report 25 minutes ago. And since then, we have not seen anything new in terms of new reports. If we did, we'd have the icons showing up. But again, that was the most recent report. Let's go back here. This tornado warning does continue. They issued an update, but there's not much change. Axtell and Baileyville, you remain within this tornado warning. Again, it goes until 7:30. Once we get this past Axtell and Baileyville, we've still probably got about 10 minutes on that. This will begin to move into rural sections of northwestern Nemaha County. So if you are in those areas, maybe not in a significant population center, but in far northwest Nemaha County, you want to keep an eye on this as it continues to move to the northeast. We'll see on the hail indicators on radar. Yeah, nothing showing up. Again, these storms are not very tall in the atmosphere. So when that happens, you tend to not see much in the way of hail. And really, they're not very well organized either. And I don't think we're going to be talking about any sort of widespread wind damage. You know, wind damage can certainly be something that causes concern because it can affect a widespread area. In this type of setup, when you get a very weak tornado, it's going to affect a very small area if we see anything develop at all. But again, we're going to just stay with you here because Axtell and Baileyville are pretty close to a circulation if it were to develop. So we don't want to jump away from this just yet. I do want to keep you updated. And you know, we keep getting these scans of radar. Still nothing that's very tight, but there is some broad rotation here. So green colors indicate winds going toward the radar, so heading toward the south. And then red colors indicate winds away from the radar, so that's going toward the north. And that's where you look, that's where we can tell that there is some rotation. What I'd want to be seeing, I don't want to see it, but if we're going to see a tornado, these colors would have to be quite a bit closer together for me to think that there's a good chance that this would actually be a tornado on the ground. But because they're far apart, that kind of, you know, that's when we think, that's what we say it's broad rotation, nothing well organized. The other thing we have to keep in mind too is these storms are getting close to the Nebraska border, so our radar is actually looking higher up in the thunderstorm. And when it's looking higher up, it can't detect the winds quite as well, especially in a setup like this when the rotation is definitely in the lower part of the thunderstorm. So they're continuing to monitor this. They're going to still keep the tornado warning going because as I've been showing you too on the radar, we keep getting these scans that just show some very weak, brief rotation. And, you know, when that keeps happening, you don't want to, you know, let the warning go just yet. You want to have pretty good confidence that, you know, there's definitely not going to be any possibility of that. But because we keep kind of getting these intermittent scans that show this, they're going to keep the tornado warning going. So let's head back over to Melissa for some additional photos. Looks like they're coming in.
Yeah, we're going to look at some more photos so that Peyton can have a chance to kind of look at the radar, get a real good feel. This is from Centralia Lake, is where this person is situated right now. That is east of Vermilion, south of Baileyville. So they're looking at, this is the cloud looking the direction I'm going to surmise that has been between Vermilion and Baileyville as it moved that direction. So you can see the large cloud low to the horizon, as Peyton has been saying. That's what you kind of look for to see if there's any danger that's going to come out of those clouds. So this is, again, the view from Centralia Lake, which is east of Vermilion, south of Baileyville. So it's kind of looking toward that area and the cloud that was kind of moving all over that direction. A few more that have come in. And if you're in the area, if you're in a safe place, we do stress more than anything, you must be in a safe place. And you see anything, you can go to WIBW.com on the weather page and submit weather photos there. This view is looking north from Onega. Again, the clouds that you can see here is they are low building in the Onega area. This is 10 miles north of Baileyville looking south. The Baileyville area is where Peyton has been watching the storm moving toward. I'm going to see if I can blow that up just a little bit more for you. There you go, 10 miles north of Baileyville. It tends to, unfortunately, make the rest of the photo go away. So I was just kind of looking down here again, those low clouds that you kind of watch to make sure that there's no threat that's going to come any further from there. Again, Rob sent that in looking from Baileyville. More clouds over Vermilion, part of the storm warned area that has moved through there now as it heads into the Nemaha County area. This one is just kind of a cool photo. This is from the first round of storms that moved through earlier this evening. You'll recall this is the second tornado warning now for Marshall County. as the first one happened between 5 and 5:30 this evening. Sandy in Circleville had the dark clouds, but of course, if you can look right there, there is a rainbow going through those clouds. So that just makes it a little bit nicer, a little bit of beauty, even though the weather situation itself is a little bit on the threatening side. More clouds northeast of Vermilion looking to the south as they pass through that area. And this is Sandy in Circleville. A little wider view. You can see a little bit more of the rainbow in the clouds over Circleville this evening. 6 miles south of Centralia looking toward the west. It's the bottom part of the photo here again that you want to really look at. Those clouds look bad enough, and then you look at that large cloud very low to the ground there. And this again is that view from Paxico looking toward Frankfurt and seeing more of the clouds. Going back to this one, this view from Centralia Lake, and you see this is that large area of the storm that moved between Vermilion and Baileyville just a short time ago. Bringing you up to date, reminding you once again on your tornado safety tips. Anywhere in the storm area and you're in the tornado warning path, you should be in your basement right now. If you do not have a basement in your home, go to one of those interior rooms in your house, a closet, anything to put walls, sturdiness between you and the outside of the storm on the lowest level of your house. Avoid any windows for wherever your storm safe area is. Cover yourself with something sturdy, especially if you're not in the basement. Anything that can protect you from any debris that might be flying around should the storm lead to some of that. If you're in a mobile home, get out if you can, get somewhere a little bit safer, perhaps a neighbor, anywhere that maybe has a basement would be your best bet, and stay advised on what might be coming your way. Have a weather radio handy and a mobile app. Charge up your cell phone before a storm comes. Some of these things are things you should be thinking about before a storm comes your way, but certainly right now, any way you can stay informed is a good bet. Peyton?
All right, thanks for that, Melissa. I was just taking a look at things behind the scenes, kind of looking at where we have some of the higher instability now. So it's this area circled, I think, within the next hour or two that we're going to have to continue to monitor for the severe weather potential. So shifting now into Nemaha and Brown counties. Hiawatha, you're not seeing a storm right now, but we'll have to watch some of this activity in it. I've been looking at the satellite. There might be some additional storms that'll try to develop kind of south of Seneca there, and those could lift northeast. But I think Marysville west, you're done. And then it's really just going to be this area here in the short term. So again, this tornado warning does continue until 7:30. The Weather Service is going to continue to monitor this because there still continues to be at least some weak rotation with this. Let's get Axtell back on the map here, and I want to go back here to the wind mode because I was just looking at it too behind the scenes. Some weak rotation. It now looks like it's shifting north of Axtell and Baileyville. So let's go back here to the regular mode of radar and see how that matches up. Again, this is a, not a typical setup to where we'd be looking at for a tornado. If it were to occur, it'd be rain wrapped. In this type of setup, I don't want to rely too much on the wind mode. We kind of had something like this happen last year with these kind of low-topped, pretty weak thunderstorms. Just kind of look for the notches on the radar, and that's kind of what we're looking at here. So maybe something of a circulation west of Baileyville, southeast of Axtell. So we're not going to give you the all clear yet. Go ahead and just keep playing it safe in Axtell and Baileyville and stay in your storm shelters. Over the next few minutes, we'll see if the Weather Service is going to allow this tornado warning to drop off, if they're going to issue a new one. But over the next few minutes, that will eventually be moving into more rural portions of northwest Nemaha County. That's going to stay to the west of St. Benedict, but other than that, we do not show any sort of major population centers once this gets past Axtell and Baileyville. But if you are certainly in some of those rural areas, that you live in the northwest portions of Nemaha County, you'll want to keep a close eye on this thunderstorm. We are starting to see some additional activity again, as I was talking about a few minutes ago. Back building here, we've got some heavy rain in Seneca. We can see what this looks like over the past hour. Yeah, this is some new thunderstorm activity. So again, if you're in Nemaha County, stay alert too, because any of these storms that develop, again, as I mentioned, the threat is kind of shifting farther east now. We do need to watch possibly for some of these storms to start to strengthen. I think it's going to be the same type of deal where we might not see any tornadoes develop at all, but some brief spin-ups still cannot be ruled out, especially with this new activity that's developing farther southeast. I'm not seeing any indication of that right now with those storms, but certainly if you're in Seneca, through Oneida, Bern, heading farther east towards Sabetha, Fairview, even Hiawatha, as these thunderstorms, let me get you back here to the normal mode. of radar. As those thunderstorms lift more to the northeast, we'll have to monitor for that potential for you. You can see we had some of those storms around Sabetha earlier, but it looks like this new storm is strengthening right over Seneca now. Just some heavy rain, and we can see what the lightning indicators are looking like on this storm. Not any lightning with it right now, but if that storm continues to grow, we might start to see more lightning. The most lightning here is with this thunderstorm that we've been continuing to monitor there. That's an indication that it is the strongest. That's why we do have the tornado warning with it. And that's why probably too the circulation potential is a little bit higher with this storm. That's an indication with the lightning that it is a little bit more organized. But again, on radar, this does not look very impressive. There is a bit of a circulation here to the northeast of Axtell and Baileyville, but I don't want to give you the all clear yet because there is still what might be a little bit of some inflow going into the storm around Axtell and Baileyville. So stay in your storm shelter. We'll see what the Weather Service is going to do here in the next 4 minutes because, again, this tornado warning goes until 7:30. We will see if they issue a new one at all. But again, it's been a while and we're just not seeing any confirmed tornado reported with this storm. The only report that we had was at 6:49 south of Vermilion with that funnel cloud report, and even that didn't necessarily touch down. We did earlier today around 5 p.m. have that thunderstorm south of Summerfield produce at least an unconfirmed report of a brief tornado, but now this new storm is a little bit farther to the east. So let's get you back to the area-wide view. Do need to watch that storm developing over Seneca because it is a little bit stronger. That's the icon there. That was that funnel cloud report at 6:49. That's it in terms of the thunderstorm activity that we're seeing right now. I want to go back here to the satellite picture. This shows us the clouds in the atmosphere. And when you look at those shades of purple and green, that indicates taller thunderstorms. So taller thunderstorms give us the green. And again, this is the clouds on the satellite, and we'd be looking for any more of that developing. So I want to loop this and see. And you can see that's the strongest storm now. And you can kind of see something trying to bubble up there over Seneca. That's definitely a storm over Seneca, but we'll see if that continues to grow taller. But look at the swirling motion in the clouds. You know, we've got northwest winds coming in on the backside. This is a strong area of low pressure around Belleville. And notice when you just have this much spinning in the atmosphere already, and it's that type of setup when you have that going on, you get some weak thunderstorms to develop. It is actually a pretty typical setup here to look at some weak tornadoes. But again, it seems like it always happens like this when you have this setup with weak tornadoes. You usually don't see much, but it's right on the fence there where you just got to keep an eye on it. So let's see what they're saying here. Okay, they're going to likely let the warning expire. And they're saying the same thing as I was just mentioning, that they're going to start to shift to that Seneca storm that they're going to have to watch in terms of something strengthening. So let's wait here a minute because they didn't say for sure if they're going to expire the warning. But we'll give it a little bit of time here. But again, if you are in Seneca into Nemaha County, this storm is certainly stronger. Now that we're getting those shades of pink and red, that's an indication that this storm is growing. So we do need to continue to monitor that. It doesn't look threatening in terms of a spin-up tornado threat at this very moment, but within the next 30 minutes to an hour, we'll keep an eye on that. Again, this area of rotation continues to weaken. So Axtell, Baileyville, looks like this threat is starting to shift to your northeast. I think this tornado warning is probably going to drop off here at 7:30. So we'll continue to monitor this activity. Let me show you here the latest data on Supercast here real quickly on how this is going to continue through the next few hours. Computer model is doing a very good job of showing where the storms are right now. And notice here, it's going to probably be through the next hour or so, through about 9 o'clock, that those thunderstorms will continue along Highway 36. A brief spin-up tornado is the main threat Hail threat overall is pretty low, and we're probably not going to see much in the way of strong straight line winds either. But again, that tornado warning has been allowed to expire. We do need to watch the storm here in Nemaha County with some heavy rainfall, and we'll see if that continues to strengthen as it continues to lift off to the northeast. So that tornado warning has expired. We'll get you back to programming. Thanks for staying with us. I know it can be kind of frustrating in this situation where we don't have anything confirmed, but because we had some population centers, we have to keep those of you in the path updated. So stay with us. If you're in Nemaha County too, we'll continue to monitor and see if anything changes. For now, we'll get you back to regular programming.